talking of entertainment brings us to England in Latvia tonight. Yeah, okay, I know, dodgy link. It's live on talkSPORT. Thomas Tuchel's men, they'll guarantee a first-place finish with victory, who enter this one on a miserable run. But they're used to miserable runs because they're 137th in the world. Speaking to talkSPORT, Thomas Tuchel says he still needs 100% from his team. No, he doesn't really. Heading into tonight.
We want to push for 90 minutes when we wear the shirt, and we want to make our fans proud, and we want to make ourselves happy when we're in the dressing room. We want to sweat, be tired. No one has to be ashamed of being tired. It's a good thing, and we don't want to get away with the easiest effort or with half the effort. We want to put all the effort in and create then a feeling that it's nice to work as a team and to work hard and to run. And at the moment we are a running team, and I think this is it's infectious and creates a good energy, and yeah, the demands are high and the team is following, so keep on going.
Just before we move on to England, it's really got people going. Ross says the fact that you think you don't need to be physically fit to play golf shows you're clueless, Jeff. I give to you Craig Stadler, Ross. All right, stick that where the sun don't shine, pal.
The Walrus.
Yeah.
Remember, who can forget the Walrus?
Yeah, anyway.
And then the following question, right? I mean, I'm taking it to an extreme here now. Is the legendary, the man that gave us, you and I, our most entertaining minutes ever on this programme, surely Gary Kasparov, and he's got to come into it. Is he a sportsman?
You're taking this into unknown territory here, Foisty. I think if you watch the Ryder Cup, look, is Bob McIntyre based in the States? Because he can't hear us. Because he's not exactly, the best physical specimen. No. You wouldn't say, wow, there is a physically fit sportsman, would you?
Big Monty.
But he's brilliant.
Big Monty was another
Colin
one.
Montgomery.
Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic.
Million examples.
Yeah.
Right, we hope that the England team are going to be a bit fitter than Monty and Craig Stadler this evening in Latvia, even though they may not actually need to be at their best. Joining us more on this is the Daily Mail's chief football reporter, Craig Hope. Morning, Craig.
Morning, Craig.
Morning, guys.
So look, Thomas Tuchel says his team still need to give 100% tonight, and as a manager, of course, he would require that from his side. But let's be brutally honest. Is there anything to be learned for Tuchel from this game tonight?
Absolutely, yeah, Jeff. I listened to you there, and I understand why you do it down to a degree, and you look at England needing this victory against Latvia to go through to the World Cup, and you might question, do they actually need to give 100%? Well, yeah, they do, because Tuchel's created this environment now where every minute does matter, and while it might not be about in isolation getting the result against Latvia, as you quite rightly assumed, Jeff, they can probably go in at 75, 80% and get the victory they need to go to the finals in North America. It's about more than that, because Thomas Tuchel quite cleverly and all of a sudden has created this climate of fear around selection, and I mean that in the best way, fear in a motivating way, a fear which brings out the best in his players. They know that what they do off the pitch and on the pitch over what are only 5 or 6 games before the World Cup is going to determine whether they're in that squad or not. And I like what he's doing. And we spoke to Jordan Pickford yesterday, and he talked a lot about Team England. Now, Team England was a thing under Gareth Southgate. This isn't something new. But Gareth Southgate's Team England was more about inclusion. Thomas Tuchel's could be about exclusion. And I hope you get what I mean by that. It's the players he's left out who have created this sense of needing to perform, of needing to be a good citizen on the team, on the training pitch, around the team hotel. So while you say it doesn't matter, I would flip that, and I would say every minute matters right now.
I see where you're coming from, Craig, and I think probably with England more than anybody, because we've been sitting for the last couple of days discussing Scotland's performances, right, in the last couple of games, and with the greatest respect, I'm completely over it, because it's all about points for us. But it's a completely different scenario with England. We saw it because England's record in qualification is just about a given. they qualify for everything, and you can argue so they should. So it does come down to the level of performance and what you are actually watching, because 99 times out of 100 in qualifiers you're going to win. So I think there is maybe not an added pressure, but there is an extreme pressure on England players to perform. You just have to look at was it the Albania game where they won quite confidently, but the result and the performance wasn't up to scratch, and then all of us saying, well, they better do better over in Serbia, and they did. So I think, rightly or wrongly, but I think it's factually correct, I think there's probably slightly more pressure on England performances than they are certainly some of the other countries.
Yeah, and look at the most informative thing of all of this, Ali, was the first half hour against Wales on Thursday night when, given it was a friendly and they've got a qualifier 4 days later, the players might have been forgiven for being sort of half-cooked, having a different mentality. That half hour against Wales was the most intense and the most inventive I've seen England play for a long time, certainly under Thomas Tuchel. And that goes back to the point I made. When you leave out a player like Jude Bellingham, like Phil Foden, like Jack Grealish, and those with possession of the jersey, look at that. They know they've got to perform to stay there. And I like what Tuchel has created. He's been criticised for leaving out Bellingham, and there's this whole debate around whether he'll come back or not. But what it's done is it's inspired Morgan Rogers. It's inspired Elliot Anderson. And they aren't playing with the belief and the assumption now that the big boys will return as soon as they're fit or back in form. No. If you're in possession, it's yours to keep. And I like that. And you can see it in performances.
Yeah, and I completely get that, Craig. And I completely get Thomas Tuchel talking about Team England and the team ethos and things like that. But how difficult is that going to be to maintain? If Bellingham comes back, or Foden, or Alexander-Arnold, or Grealish, Livramento, Madueke, Reece James, Ollie Watkins, Adam Wharton, how difficult is it going to be to maintain that appearance of a group which is bonded together as a team?
It goes back to what I said before, Jeff. What Gareth Southgate have done. I love Gareth, by the way. I thought he was genius. The way he made the players feel good and support us about wearing the badge and being part of that Team England. Gareth Southgate would have brought those players back in and tried to include them. Thomas Tuchel's method of dealing with this might just be to leave them out. He doesn't care. He's only here until after the World Cup, the contract he has signed. He knows that he's got to create a team. Every time we sit down with him, every time we speak to him, he talks about creating a team. That does not mean the best 11 players. So his solution to all of that, Jeff, might be just not to bring them back into the squad, to keep this group he's got. And I think he wants to do that. It's why he placed such great stock on the performance against Wales. When we were out in Serbia, he was so relieved and encouraged by what he'd seen in the camp. Happy campers, good trainers, good teammates as well. If he sees that again during this camp, he might just keep it for November and then again going into March. It'll be harder for those on the outside to get back in than it would have been previously.
Well, wow, Craig, that's a brave call, because it's easy to do when you're winning, but it's not so easy to do if you're not winning, when you come up against the big powers.
Do you know what I think, boys? I think that the secret, and if Thomas Tuchel can get this, then fair play to him. I think the secret is getting the balance, right? And by that I mean, of course, players who are in possession of the jersey, I think, deserve to keep it. But at the same time, there'll be a balance of great players who can do things differently. And also, managers do have players and coaches do have players who they know they can rely on, that might be out with an injury and they accept it. But if it came to a big match, I'm not saying they're always going to start, but the manager knows he can hang his hat on them. So I think, Craig, the secret, and if he can get it, is the balance between the two.
Yeah, we were sat last night amongst ourselves, actually, after the press conference, debating whether Jude Bellingham will start the opening game at the World Cup next summer. And it seems unthinkable that we're even having that discussion and that debate. But that shows you what Thomas Tuchel has created. And my answer to the question was, as we were sat there, I honestly think there's a part of Tuchel doesn't want to start Jude Bellingham. He's come in and there is something quite clearly, judging by his comments and extension, his selections, that he doesn't like about Jude Bellingham. I think Thomas Tuchel will want this to work. He will want them to go and win well tonight. He will want them to be good teammates and again next month. And that means Jude Bellingham, yes, as you say, Ali, it'd be a hell of a call actually leaving him out of the squad, given the moments he can produce. But does that mean he's a starter? in conclusion, my answer to the debate we had last night was no. I don't think he will start the opening game of the World Cup next year, providing those who are there at the moment are still in form and fit.
Craig, it's an interesting discussion. It really is. Thank you very much indeed,
Thanks for your
mate.
time, mate. Enjoy the game.
talkSPORT Breakfast, waking you up Monday to Friday morning from 6 a.m. on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.